Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning into another Supatease video. We got a quick PvP class change update for this weekend. Some deserving classes are getting some buffs, and some other classes are getting some surprising nerfs in this update. If you want to make sure that you're never missing a beat, make sure to smash that subscribe button. Your support is greatly appreciated on my long-term goal of getting to 100,000 subscribers. But let's get started. There's a lot of attention in this PvP round for Death Knight specifically. So for Frost, you are seeing some buffs. They are fixing an issue that caused Pillar of Frost stacking strength to not be properly reduced in PvP combat. That sounds like more of a nerf. Frost Strike damage is now increased by 67% in PvP, up from 45. Obliterate damage is now increased by 20%, up from 15. And Obliterate damage is now increased by 75% when Killing Machine is not active in PvP combat, up from 60. So 15% buff to Obliterate when it's not with Killing Machine, 5% increase when it is, and Frost Strike getting over a 22% increase in damage. This is likely going to make your burst really spiky, I would think, but this nerf to your burst, or bug fix to your burst, might completely counteract that. I'm not sure if these numbers are enough. My experience with Frost Death Knight is pretty limited, so if any Frost Death Knights out there can correct me on this, but I don't believe that you're just kind of mashing Obliterate without Killing Machine procs. I don't think that's really generally what you're doing. Usually you're stacking all your cooldowns together and spamming Chains of Ice and running away in between them. Obviously, I think the ideal position is that they're going to change it so your burst damage isn't so dramatically high that you want to just disengage from the fight entirely to wait for that window of damage. This is something we're going to have to wait and see, but you are finally getting some attention in this patch for this round of changes. For Unholy DK, you're getting some surprising nerfs. I thought Unholy DK was strong, but honestly not like unreasonably strong. So I'm very surprised to see this. We have been monitoring our changes to Unholy this season and feel the damage they bring is slightly higher than our intent. The primary adjustment here is through Fester Might, which can cause high variance and burst at high stacks. This is consistent with our original goal of reducing burst and focusing the spec on sustained DPS in PvP. Fester Might is now 50% effective in PvP, and this is basically a stacking strength buff. It's going to be half the amount of strength per stack. That's a pretty significant overall main stat reduction in your damage, so it's very surprising to see. And Festering wound damage is now increased only by 230%, down from 250%. So Festering wound burst when you're popping a lot of wounds, and that's where most of your sustained damage comes from. So that's why I don't really understand. This is almost like a nerf to your sustain and your burst, just a pretty big nerf overall to Unholy DK. Maybe, I mean, occasionally I would see like some pretty high bursts from an Unholy DK and be like, yo, what just happened? And maybe this is contributing to that, but I feel like this might be overkill on it potentially for them, considering this damage is pretty much all you're really bringing to the table in terms of competitive PvP as a Death Knight. For Windwalker Monk, we are seeing a counteraction nerf. Basically, they buffed Rising Sun Kick in the previous update. Now they're nerfing it. It's going to be nerfed by 9% in PvP combat. I think this makes sense. Rising Sun Kick is hitting exceptionally high, and Windwalkers are really strong at the moment, so this change honestly does make some sense to me. Fury Warrior, you are also receiving a little bit of attention in this update. Rampage is going to be receiving a 15% damage buff to 30% increase from 15. Hopefully this is going to make you more viable. I'm honestly still surprised to not see any changes for Outlaw Rogues specifically, or even Assassination Rogues. And if we were to hold a tournament, honestly, right now, I think that teams would mostly still be playing Balanced Druids, Subtlety Rogues, probably Paladins, and Evoker Healers. And we're targeting specializations that I'm not even sure are going to be utilized, at the highest level of competitive play. Looking at it just from a ladder standpoint, even I don't think that the Death Knight was kind of like overperforming to that level on the ladder. The Windwalker change seems to be a little bit, less big than this one for Death Knight specifically. These types of changes, I could see types of tweaks to the current S tier specs. If you haven't seen my tier list, you want to know how the specs are currently looking. I think these kinds of small tweaks make sense, but this seems like a very large change to like a core component of the class at the moment. Hopefully this is enough for Frost DKs. Again, I don't have enough knowledge on it, honestly. I feel like these numbers don't seem to be jumping off the page as like, oh my god, Frost DK is going to be everywhere now. So we'll kind of have to wait and see. But Fury Warriors, you're going to be pretty happy about this change in this update. Still waiting to see what they're going to do with Rogues. Like I said, if you want to stay up to date with that, make sure to smash the subscribe button. But that is it here. Just a quick little PvP update for this Friday. DK Stonks going down a little bit. Windwalker Stonks going down a little bit. And Fury Warrior Stonks going up a tad. Other than that, thank you for watching. Thank you for watching the video, and I will see you in the next one.